Welcome to the Project 28 podcast, a ministry of Grace Bible Church in Troy, Alabama. Project 28 is designed to cover discipleship topics and how we can apply Scripture to our everyday lives.
Welcome back to Project 28, ministry of Grace Bible Church here in Troy, Alabama. My name is Clay Graham, and I'm here as usual with Danny and Perry and Randy. And today we have a special guest who I'll introduce in a little bit. His name is Clint. We're taking a break from our parenting and family, our marriage and family series, to introduce you to Clint, and he's got an organization called Common Ground that he is responsible for. And so what we're doing with this series, I'll kind of let Perry and Randy explain in a moment. We wanted to introduce you to some folks from the community that you may be wanting to support or that we may support as a church. So, Perry, tell us a little bit about why we're doing this. This is going to be more of a series kind of in the future, but we're doing this one a little early.
Yeah, I mean, I think you encapsulated it pretty well. But as a church, there's a lot of great churches in Troy. There's a lot of great local ministries in Troy, a lot of believers that are doing a lot of different things other than just inside their churches, but in the community as well. Another big thing that is very important in the life of the church is giving, whether it be giving, tithing with your own church, or giving to local or foreign missions. These things manifest themselves in many different ways. And so if there's somebody here in the community or a group that's doing something that is proclaiming the gospel and building the kingdom here in Troy, I think it would be almost be a sinful thing to do is not to support other brothers and sisters in our community that are doing those things. And so that's why we're having Clint on today. We're going to have some other people on in the future that might not even go to our church, but that are doing kingdom-based things here in town. And we want to encourage the people, the congregation here at our church, to support them as a way to help them out, but also is teaching us how to give out of the wealth of what the blessings that God has given us. In the future, we're going to be talking about giving within the church. That's a series that you're going to hear on Project 28 in the future. So you can kind of look at this episode today as a primer for some of those things in the future.
Mm-hmm. So, Clint, welcome. And tell us a little bit about yourself, about your family, your background, where you're from. I'd like to hear a little bit about your testimony, how you became a Christian, and then get into what you do with Common Ground.
Awesome. Well, cool. I appreciate y'all having me on. My name is Clint Free. I am originally from Luverne, Alabama, so not too far. My parents have both worked in Troy most of my life. My dad currently works in Greenville, but spent a lot of my childhood in Troy. I graduated from Troy in 2015, and really my testimony is pretty simple. I struggled with sharing it for a while because it seemed so bland. But I grew up, my mom took me to church every Sunday, every Wednesday. She currently does the prayer list at our church, Mount Zion Baptist Church, small Baptist church in Brantley, Alabama.
Shout out.
So, growing up, very involved in our youth group. We went on a mission trip every summer. I think I have now been on a total of foreign and domestic, a total of maybe 14 mission trips. So that kind of got my heart stirring for ministry, what that would look like for me. I can remember one time at Lee University, we went on a mission trip there, and I just felt the Lord stirring, to be missional. Of course, 16 or 17, I had no idea what that meant. Wasn't even a believer at the time. I just felt that stirring. And then fast forward, coming to Troy, freshman year, did the freshman year thing, hung out, joined a fraternity, and really just kind of got lost in the weeds of that. It wasn't until one of my friends sat me down and was like, "Hey, if you died today, would you go to heaven or hell?" And I couldn't answer that. And
tough question.
Yeah. He's straight to the point, which I appreciate, especially now. But yeah, he just asked me, and I couldn't answer that question, and it bothered me for a while. So after that, I started my journey. Got it heavily involved in campus outreach, and the kind of the flowing of that. Heavily involved. Did all the campus outreach things, New Year's conference, fall break retreats. Heavily involved in that, and over time, I can't pinpoint like a moment when I felt like I was saved, but I knew where my future was held, and where my future is held. So over that time, just became a Christian, and I got involved with not campus outreach, Common Ground Montgomery, through campus outreach.
That's BK's there, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, and that's what led me down a long path, and I'll share a bit about that later, about how it led me to where I am now. So yeah, and I'm married. I've been married for 8 years now. I have a 6-year-old, almost 2-year-old girl, and we have another baby due in March.
Oh, congratulations.
So, and we're going to round that off there. We're going to be done.
That's it?
After 3.
3?
Yes.
You don't want to go for 4?
No, I am tired, and I don't want to lose any more sleep off of my life. So yeah, my wife is, she spent about 8.5 years in physical therapy, and now she's a health science teacher here at our tech school. So she teaches
awesome.
high school students now. So
good.
yeah, that's a little
And
bit
she
about
married
me.
you?
Yeah, she
That's
married
awesome.
me. 'Cause that's kind of the best part of the whole
awesome.
thing. So
Sweet. Well, tell me a little bit about, or a lot about Common Ground. I want to know all about it. So, truthfully, I really don't know a lot about it. So you're really going to be teaching me. So how was it started? If you know anything about that, what is its overall mission and purpose? And then what does it do on a tangible level to accomplish that mission and purpose?
yes, so there are currently 3 campus outreach. Not campus outreach, Common Ground locations. So Common Ground Montgomery was founded 18 years ago on the west side of Montgomery. And out of that, they partnered with Campus Outreach to do summer internships. Well, in 2014, I spent a whole summer living on the west side of Montgomery and interning there. And I had no idea about the organization. Campus Outreach just kind of brought it to the table, and I was like, yeah, I'll do it. So I did that and spent two months there living on the west side, serving in that ministry. And a friend of mine who was on the internship with me actually 2 or 3 years later started Common Ground Shoals in Muscle Shoals, Alabama.
Okay.
So that's where the second location is. And then the third location is Common Ground Troy. So I spent the first 4 years of my ministry in Mobile. Mm-hmm. So my wife was in physical therapy school. We lived in Mobile for about 3.5, 4 years, and I worked in Pritchard, Alabama, with a small Presbyterian church plant there, and we did, after school, we did a soup kitchen, and we did other community development projects. So I was on staff with that church for about 4 years. And through that time, I just felt like God was calling me to come back to Troy. Weirdly enough, I was, I just always had that stirring. Well, it's formerly known as the Acts 1-8 project, but now it's the mission, just their missions funding through First Baptist Church. They always supported me. So I would always come up for their missions conference every year. And the urge and the call just got stronger. So probably about the beginning of 2019, I just really felt discontent with my work in Mobile, but I really believe that it was God moving me. I was enjoying my work, but I just felt overall just discontent, and I did not know why. So I assessed everything. Me and my wife talked about it. We weren't ready to move at the beginning of 2019, so we took a couple months to pray about it. And over that time, I just kind of dissected like my work, my calling, And part of that was looking at my donor database to see where my funding was coming from. And ironically enough, 85% of my financial funding was coming from the city of Troy.
Oh, wow.
But I was working in Mobile
Yeah.
and had been for 4 years.
Oh, yeah.
So over that time, I just continued to – we decided to move at the end of 2019. So over that time, I just continued to work with the team out of Common Ground Montgomery and kind of develop, a plan, put together a board of directors, and figure out what I wanted to do. So I founded Common Ground Troy at the beginning of 2020.
Okay.
So
It's kind of
Crazy time to be founding
that's a
something,
crazy
right?
time,
I know.
isn't it?
And
So
it gets worse.
Can you-
So
Can we hear a little bit about that?
yeah. So 2020, we do this big kickoff, social media kickoff, and I go speak at Rotary, Kiwanis, all
there
of these
anybody there?
places. At the beginning,
Yeah.
January was fine.
Oh, yeah, because it didn't happen till March.
Yes.
Everything started. Yeah.
Yes. So January was smooth. Beginning of February, we start our after-school program.
Starting to go.
Yeah.
We're getting it going.
12 boys. We started off with a group of 12 boys. So it's an all-boys ministry.
Okay.
And started off after-school program. We met 3 days a week, and we did that until about the first week of March. And then
Crickets.
COVID. Yeah. Everything hit the fan.
So what happens?
What I did we had those 12 boys. I had formed a relationship with their parents, and we connected, and I was like, hey, this is not going to stop. So we just morphed. We just went with it. And so what I would do is I would get on Zoom or FaceTime with all of them, and for my Bible studies with the boys, I would record it and send it to their parents, and they would watch it. And then I would Zoom in or FaceTime and make sure that we were working with their teachers, doing their work. So we were consistent. And then even when they did kind of the blended virtual part of it, that's where we got even more connected with First Baptist Church, because we're located at their Family Life Center. That's where we have our program. So I went to the church administrator and was like, hey, the current place where we're at, which is Academy Street Gym, does not have any Wi-Fi, and we can't social distance. And he was like, okay, well, tell me what you need. I said, I have 12 boys. I said, we need to be able to social distance, and we need Wi-Fi. So I contacted the school. They sent me 12 computers, and then
awesome.
we broke up we did 2 boys per room, and we broke up. We Zoomed with their teachers. We got all their school work done. I had volunteers coming in. So it really helped me, identify the need, and I got to spend all day with them rather than just after school.
Well, how did the boys take that? I mean, was it so they're going expecting one thing in February, then we're morphing, as you say. So did they respond well to that, or did you have any pushback? Is they like, hey, this is weird? I mean,
it was great.
Oh,
so
awesome.
one of the biggest things so we start with the 6th grade. So that's the age that we start with. Now, since we've grown, we're 6th through 10th grade.
Did you grow with them?
Yes.
As 6th graders, 7th grade, and then
So
you
the
went to
10th grade group is our initial group.
6th grade group.
Yeah, the initial group that we started with.
Second year, did you go, okay, now I got 7th graders and 6th graders?
Yeah.
And it just kind of grew like that.
Yep.
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
now we have 68 boys in our program.
Oh.
6th through 8th grade is 40, and then 9th and 10th grade is about 28, 27, 28. So the biggest thing is it really gave me an opportunity to develop that relationship more with that first group. And one of the biggest things is we had a lot of kids after COVID go back, and they were behind on all their work. All 12 of those boys stepped right back into the classroom, and they were all caught up.
What do you think of what you're trying to accomplish? What do you think the success? Do you feel like it's a higher success rate with these guys than it was before they came in? I mean,
Yeah,
are you feeling
so-
comfortable with what you deem to be successful?
Yeah, so in the way we kind of gauge success is, so out of the 68 boys, no boy has ever failed a grade.
That's awesome.
So, and we've had instances where, the boys kind of lose motivation or they get behind on their work, and it really just offers us we have a conversation with the parent, and we're like, hey, no, there's going to be no fun here for him in the afternoon because we're gonna bust it and get him caught up. So really, the parents play a big role in that, being on our team, and making sure that their child knows, hey, when you come through that door after school, education is the priority.
Yeah. How big is parental involvement in this process?
We have a lot. So the way we kind of do things is, so teachers refer us students, or we have parents walk up to the facility and grab an application. And then what we do is to try and help parent-teacher relationships, we get the teacher to call the parent first and say, hey, I think this program would be really good for your child. I put an application in his backpack. Here you go. And that helps kind of that relationship, hey.
Kind of get started.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to cold call. It's kind of
Exactly.
give somebody you trust, kind of get you in the door.
And also it's letting that family or letting those parents know that this teacher cares outside of the classroom as well. So parental involvement has been amazing. And we have 4 meetings per year and with parents, and they're required to be at least 3 of those or their child can't continue.
So what I'm gathering is that with this program, you're meeting, I guess, a physical or a secular need with their education, but then you're also meeting spiritual needs, doing Bible studies.
Tell
and things
us
like
about
that.
that. Tell us about the spiritual
Yeah.
aspect of it.
So that is, like you said, you're meeting that physical. You're meeting kind of the secular need of of life, and then that's what we saw Jesus do on the front end. And then we kind of open that door to the spiritual side of it.
Right.
So we just do small Bible studies, and
How often do you do them, Clint?
so the way we have it set up now, and it's kind of changed over the years. It's evolved, especially with more students. The way we do it now is every Monday we have a large group devotion. So that's all the boys in the gym. We have probably a 10 to 15 minute devotion, and then because when we have after school, it's only 6th through 8th grade. So 6th through 8th grade is with us. So that's 40 students every week. And what we do is we break it down, and then Tuesday 6th grade, Wednesday 7th grade, 8th grade is on the on Thursday. So we then we do small groups, and that's where we kind of get more in depth with our learning, our Bible study. So
everybody's in there on Monday, and then everybody
broken
also
out.
gets an additional day of the week.
Yes.
Okay.
So we hit it on all days, for different age groups.
Right.
And so something else that we're launching, which I think is really cool. We have a guy on staff with us. His name's Andrew Clem. He is starting discipleship groups. So we have started one with 3 boys, and it's kind of different. We've identified that they, have either professed, there's a component of faith that they've professed, that they believe, and that they want to be saved. So those 3 boys are going, and they're going deeper in that. And that's once or twice a month, and he'll take them off site, not on a normal after school day. And he'll, I think the first time they went to Baumhauer's and bowling. And then he just spends time with them, and then he does some discipleship with them.
That's right.
Yeah, to dig deeper in that. And
Kind of like a CO model.
Yes.
Like the Campus Outreach model.
Yes. So it's kind of like a micro piece of that. And then for our high school, it looks different because they're growing. Their schedules are super busy. They're
probably playing sports and stuff.
And they're in some club. They never have time after school. So the school has allowed us to come up there on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and we have a Group A and a Group B, and we meet with them on campus at Charles Henderson High School.
I was about to ask you which school, and you finally said it.
And see, it's just for Troy City.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of people always ask, and that's really just from a bandwidth standpoint.
Right.
So
Any pushback from Charles Henderson, or is it just huge praise?
huge praise. Like,
That's good to hear.
the principal is literally like, I call her, I email them on Monday and it's like, hey, we're coming up on Tuesday, Thursday. This is what we're doing. This is what we do as an organization. And she's like, let's do it. There was no pushback.
It's good to hear.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So,
Clint, let me ask you this. So you're doing these Bible studies and discipleship groups, and now you have a sample size of 4 years, give or take, of results on that. What, from a spiritual standpoint, what kind of growth have you seen these kids go through in that amount of time going through these programs?
yeah. So kind of the way we gauge that is character development. Just your posture and your reactions to things have changed. Before I was a believer, I may react to something different, and my posture has changed after becoming a believer. So we've noticed that in some of the boys, and we also have noticed that they just have a desire to listen more and hear more. I cannot imagine being a youth pastor. It's weird hearing me say that, but I would struggle with doing that, because it's like, how do you see fruit in a 13, 14, and 15-year-old? And it's hard for me too, and that's, so we've really seen it in their posture and their reactions to things. And we've even have some boys especially in the 10th grade, that ask pointed questions.
Yeah, I think the advantage that anybody can take away from this too is that the universal principle of the gospel being salt and light wherever it is, right? That, salt, the gospel is a preservative in the community and in culture, light exposed. Like, even if, your children are not making professions of faith, just by the fact of them being around someone sharing the gospel and opening God's word, as Clint's demonstrating here, that you can even see the gospel's just positive effects in society of them just being around it, which I think is awesome to see.
Yeah. And for me, it's even more personal for me, because I'm not your typical, like, I'm going to read the Bible, I'm going to dive in and just like do this study. Or, some guys I'm around are like, hey, you want to take this John Eldredge book and read it for like the next 8 months and and I'm like, ooh, that sounds like death to me. And then, but like, if I sit down with someone at a lunch conversation and we share about our life, I'm like, God, I can see Jesus. Like, I can feel him in your life, and I can see the way I see Jesus is through people. And I think that's cultural for, that's standard for everybody. But honestly, that's where I find the gospel is just really real in interactions with people. And that's why I'm so heavily involved in the community.
What has the parents' reaction been to all this?
That was my next question.
Yeah. So we have never had any pushback. Like, and they're like, hey, we need all the help we can get. Like, I love our parents' vulnerability. They are super now, and I can't say that for every parent, but out of the 68 boys that we have, I could call a mom right now and be like, hey, I'm going to pick your son up and we're going to go to a Bible study, and there would be no pushback.
That's cool.
Can I ask a question that I've been thinking the whole time?
Yeah.
Why only boys?
So, if you look at the 68 boys in our program, almost 38 to 40 are without a father in their home.
Yeah, need men in their life.
Yeah. So what we want to do is kind of build that up. And so we also have not an all-male staff. Our academic coordinator, she was an educator for a while, but she handles all our academics. But the rest of our staff are males. And what we want is 10 years down the road is we want them to be a dad.
Mm-hmm.
We want them to be living in their home and spending time with their child. And, there's so many circumstances.
And you're modeling it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're living it out in front of them.
Mm-hmm.
And
that is great.
Yeah. And then even it's like what we want the boys to know is that it's safe. It's safe to be a dad, and it's safe to be who you're called to be through Jesus. And so we model that out. And then we just kind of dig in on that. We require them to interact with each other. We dive in on some hard conversations.
So of the 6th graders who are now 10th graders, what's the percentage? Any kind of retention? Did you keep every one of them? Or
yeah, we've had about, and now we're really strict.
You got to be.
Yeah, we have
Got a bunch of hard-headed boys.
Yes, and we have policies. We have strict policies on if you're not growing and you're hindering the growth of students around you, then you got to go. Yeah. So we've removed, I think, 3 now, and 4 have moved. So, and we have a waiting list for each grade.
Awesome.
Wow, so that makes it really easy. Yeah. It's the easiest part of my job, and it's the hardest part of my job. I have to tell families no a lot, and I'll talk about that too. But we just roll another student in.
Yeah. Let's move to some needs.
Yeah.
Because I know we try to make this 45 minutes, and we got another one. How is it with your volunteers? You got enough male volunteers to help you here?
Yeah. So
is this going good?
Yes. So we average probably 14 to 15 volunteers a day. So we have a great connection with the education department at the university. We've teamed up with them to do some what they call observation hours. So they come over and they get 2 observation hours with us per class that they take. So if you take 4 education classes, you got to come in a semester and get 8 hours with us. So
these are just men coming in.
No, we have
men and women coming in.
Yeah, guys and girls.
Okay.
Yeah. So and then we try to partner with different fraternities. And there's a group called 101 Elite Men on campus. So we try to partner with all of them. Andrew Clem, who I spoke about earlier, also handles all our volunteers as well. So, that's one thing that people ask me all the time. They're like, "Oh, well, can I come volunteer?" I'm like, "Yeah." And they come in and they're like, "You have a lot here," and I'm like, "We do, but we can always use more." So
right.
Yeah.
So what are some of the biggest needs or challenges that you face?
Yeah. So challenges, honestly, is if you look at an organization like Common Ground, we're a staff of 5 full time. And with that comes salaries and benefits, and then all the programmatic needs. Families don't pay a dime. They don't pay anything to come to our program. Where you have, I have one in daycare, and we pay $580 a month. So
that's cheap. It's not getting cheap.
Yeah. Yeah. Then, so like the biggest thing is like being able to. I'm the sole fundraiser. So, but that's what I feel God has gifted me to do. So I love to raise money, but it comes through relationships. It comes through people buying into the mission and the vision of what you're doing and really investing in that. And kind of putting your money where your mouth is, saying that you want to see the kingdom grow and that you want to see more people come to know the Lord. And we're an avenue for that. So I say all that to say that, financial needs are always something that's at the top of our list that we need. And so we've received some grants here and there from organizations, maybe state or local, and also some city and county funding. But financial needs are always there. One of the biggest things is you can give monthly. And we have it really easy online where you can set up and do recurring giving.
What's that website?
It's www.cgt.life.
Do that one more time.
www.cgt.life.
Okay.
So try to make it kind of different than what you would normally do, so you can kind of it'll stick
Remember.
with you. Yeah. So yeah, financial needs are always there, and then really just what we're trying to do now is for these 10th graders who will be 11th graders next year, we're going to do a mentoring program.
Okay.
So we are going to match every child with a mentor, or we may do, just based on interest, we may do 1 to 2, one mentor to 2 kids.
Right.
And our goal for that is to expose them to the community, to show them what this community has to offer, so that you never have to leave. And so I want to work and get men who are, and of course we're all boys, so we'll have male mentors and have men that are really, excited about being invested in this child's life. And really there's not that big of a commitment. It'll be 2 meetings per month. And what we'll do is we'll have quarterly mentor meetings, so that we can all get together. And the goal for me is that this 11th or 12th grader, if they have time, will find employment. Will learn those soft skills, so that they can, when they get out of high school, they're way more marketable and employable themselves. Or just that male mentor sharing his life with him, getting to know him, really exposing him to what a family looks like. We would love for, a mentor to have a family, but there can be single, mentors as well. But really exposing them to the community and somebody different than our staff.
Right.
I think what we find a lot of times is, like, especially with the boys, they're super comfortable with us. And then when somebody else walks in the room,
Close down.
yeah, or they freak out. So it's like, we can't always be that way.
Yeah.
And I can remember that even for me, like going after graduating college and moving to Mobile, like being on my own, and just living. And I'm like, oh, this is odd for me. And that's kind of the way that these boys are too. When our staff is not there, or when they graduate from high school and Common Ground is no longer for them, there's a mentor,
Right.
or they have a job.
So if that was something that maybe some guys in our church are sitting here listening and they're like, hey, that sounds like something I'd want to be a part of, what does that look like? How would they reach out to you? Or
Yeah,
what?
so we're going to launch this thing in the summer of next year.
Okay.
So 2025. We'll launch it, and then we'll have like a big interest meeting. And we'll kind of lay it out what the next year to 2 years look like for you. And then that's the way that you would kind of find out more. But we have a link on our website that you can just go to, and it'll be there, and it will send you to a way to contact us.
Sweet.
So,
but okay, so you talked about the what you're doing next year. Now, if you could dream even bigger, like what are your dreams or aspirations for where you would like to take the organization?
yeah. So we have a 5-year strategic plan that we're working on. By the end of 2028, we'll have about 120 boys in the program. Okay. That's also when our first class graduates from Charles Henderson.
Okay.
So in 2028 to 2030, I would love to have a building of our own. And be able for that first class to say, hey, this is where we started. This is what we have to show for it now. We have a building. There's other kids in the program that are going through the same things that we went through. And so, 2028, 2030 would be great to have our own building and a place that they can call theirs. And then even in our mission, in our vision, we're empowering, equipping, and encouraging the next generation through gospel-centered relationships. And I want in 10 years to see all of these young men being dads, being active in the community, and being a productive citizen.
And doing for others what you've been doing for them,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. And volunteering back.
Yes, exactly.
Yep.
In investing in their community.
That's right.
That is one of the biggest goals for me.
Yeah, Randy talks about a lot, like when somebody has reached maturity is if they reproduce. You know, when we talk about discipleship, well, we're not just discipling somebody for their own sake, but also so that they can go and disciple others.
Exactly.
You know?
Yes. And that's the goal.
So, that being your long-term goal, and, you talk about the needs that you currently have. You were telling us before we started that you have a big event coming up
Yes.
at the beginning of December. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yes. So December the 3rd is Giving Tuesday, which Giving Tuesday is just the national day of giving. Kind of the way it goes is Thanksgiving, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Giving Tuesday.
Right.
I don't know why we're on the back end because by that
All the
time
money's
spent all
gone.
your
The
money.
money's
You spent all your money by Giving Tuesday.
Amazon
But-
probably had the idea to put it there.
Exactly. But the goal of that day is we set a goal each year to raise a certain amount in 24 hours. Over the last 3 years, we've raised, I think, almost 190 to 200,000 on
Each
that
time,
day,
or is that
on
total?
that cumulative?
Okay.
Yeah. So the goal this year is to raise 50,000 in 24 hours.
Sweet.
And what's most exciting is a donor has agreed to match that 50.
Wow.
Heck yeah.
So in 24 hours, we have the opportunity to raise 100,000. And so what I do is there's a marketing piece to that, of course. And so I go out and meet with donors who have donated before. We share on social media. But really, it's just getting more exposure to our organization and what we do and getting people to invest in that. So that's December the 3rd. And what we want to do is just get people involved, giving financially, and being able to buy into that. And we have so many avenues of giving. You can give on our website, you can give on Venmo, you can give on PayPal, or you can give by check. So we try to make it as easy as possible for you to give on that day. So, Giving Tuesday is December the 3rd, and we're trying to raise $50,000 in 24 hours.
Okay.
That's a very, very good goal.
Yeah.
And that sounds like a great thing if you're listening to this to go out and make sure that you're involved in. I would love to see the 50,000 match for sure.
That would be,
wouldn't it
would
be
be
cool?
amazing. Yeah.
Well, anything else real big or anything that you want to share? I mean, you got the listening ear of people. Right now, is there anything else you want to?
No, I mean, I think we pretty much summed it up. I just want, the thing is I see a lot of times, especially on social media, older generations complaining about our youth, but not doing anything and not trying to pour into their lives. It's easy to complain behind a keyboard. It's easy to complain behind your cell phone, but until you get into their lives and you figure out, hey, there's a reason why this child may be, their ceiling may be low, or that, if I get involved or I get invested, then I can open up doors for this child. Because honestly, that's what was done for me. Even through donations now, like somebody opened that door before I did.
That's right.
Somebody provided before I did. And that's what we want to do for these young men. And so rather than just complaining on Facebook or sitting behind a keyboard, find a way to get involved. And I'm not saying that's common ground, but there's many avenues to get involved rather than just complain.
Yeah, I hope this is a challenge for everybody to really invest in your community and look for those opportunities to put your money where your mouth is, like you said, or put your mouth where your money is. There might be some people who are content to just give and let everybody else do the work because they don't ever have to get their hands dirty. And I don't think that's a great posture either. No. I think we need to be willing to do both, be generous both with our time and our money.
Yeah.
I want to leave you like some people on this right here too. Nobody's going to come in here and fix our community for us. I mean, there's not a government agency. There's no outside group of people. It's left up to the men of this culture and men in this city. We're what we are God's instrument. We are what God's going to use to make the things a better place. So if you want it to be a better place, I think your ministry is one of the ways that we can help into this. Like you said, it's not the only way, but it is a way. And we appreciate you coming out here and talking with us. Any of y'all have anything else? Or
I think it's everything that Clint has said, the way his ministry works and how he's doing it. I think Clint is a good example to follow. That, ideally, in a perfect world, all these things, in a previous podcast that we recorded today, we talked about these things. Ideally, these things begin in the home with the parents teaching these things. But I think that Clint's ministry is operating on it's helping kids, it's exposing kids to the gospel, it's also exposing parents to the gospel, it's exposing volunteers to the gospel. And when they see, how, it's the ultimate, what's different about you? Why are you doing these things when you don't have to be doing these things? As believers, we have to be doing these things.
Exactly.
Every believer that hears our voices on this, we're mandated to serve in these ways, in building the next generation and taking the gospel to them, whether you be, a 20-year-old, like some of the volunteers that he has, or whether you be 80 years old and you think, well, I can't do it. No, there's no discharge papers from the kingdom of God.
That's right.
We are all commanded through Scripture to serve in this way. Our podcast is named Project 28 because of the Great Commission, and as believers, we're all under that. And so I want to encourage people, I think, to follow the great example that Clint and his crew are doing with Common Ground and get out there and serve. And don't forget Giving Tuesday to help them out on December the 3rd.
That's right.
Yeah.
And give us right here before we sign off, what is that one more time, how they can go online and give, all the different ways?
Yeah, so you can go to www.cgt.life and you can hit our donate button. It's really simple after that. And then Venmo and PayPal, if you'll just search Common Ground Troy, it'll pop up. And then if you want to write a check, you can make that check out to Common Ground Troy and mail that to P.O. Box 1146, and that's Troy, Alabama 36081.
Awesome.
All right, Clint, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank y'all.
And y'all keep listening to Project 28. Like I said in the beginning, we're going to have more of these down the line, but hopefully next time we will resume our series on marriage and family. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening to the Project 28 podcast. For more information about this podcast or the ministry of Grace Bible Church, please visit our website at gbctroy.com.